let's continue on here with some domain and range. So let's first look at domain. So domain, you have to remember, is your x-axis, which is right here. And remember, -1, -2, -3. I'm not going to do this for all of them, but just keep this in mind. 3, 4, 5, 6, and goes on forever. So the idea here with domain, and maybe we'll do this in green here, domain is, and I always like to put these lines, these inequalities here first. Just try to draw this a little bit bigger. The idea here with domain is how far left does our drawing go? And you might be asking yourself, if this is our drawing, well, it doesn't go left, it goes down. And that's not true. Yes, it does head down, but it's also heading left. I mean, sure, it's heading down faster, but like it is heading down, but it is also still heading left. Just like it's heading down on this side, but it's still heading right. So the idea with the arrows is to indicate to us that it actually is going to keep going forever. So how far left does this thing go? Well, it keeps going left, more and more left. The more I draw, the more left it goes. So it's going to go left forever. And look at the numbers, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. It's going to keep going, -10, -20, -30. It's going to go forever. So we need to say it's going to go forever. It's going to go negative because the numbers are getting more and more negative, but it goes to infinity. So it goes to negative infinity. Now the thing is with infinity, you can always think of a bigger number. And so infinity, you never reach infinity. You always go a little bit more. It can always go more. So you can never equal it. So whenever you have infinity, you can't have the equal sign for the inequality. And then let's take a look at how far right this thing goes. And yeah, I realize that this graph is going down, but it still is heading right, and it keeps heading right forever. 5, 6, 7, 8. It's going to keep going to the right. So it's going to head to positive infinity. And because it keeps going forever, it'll never reach an end. I can't have that equal sign. Now for range. I need to know how low does this thing go and how high does this thing go. -3, -4, -5, -6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my thing here is the lowest number on the left and the highest on the right. So how low does this thing go? Well, it's heading lower, lower. Either side, it's heading lower and lower and lower. It keeps going lower and lower forever. It gets more and more negative. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, all the way down. So the lowest that it'll go, and because it's forever, is negative, because that's lower, infinity. And I can't put the line underneath. So now how high does this thing go? Okay, well, the maximum height is right here. And that is a height of 6. So the highest it goes is 6, and it does equal 6 because there's not an open circle there. So that is our domain, and that is our range. Now, you can write this differently below. So domain and range. If it doesn't have the inequality, the equal sign in the inequality, then what we're going to do is we're going to do a round bracket. And if it does have the underline here, then we're going to do a square bracket. So another way to write it is called interval notation. You can see an example here. So you pick the lower number, and then same way, lower number, then the higher number. So what we have here for domain is we don't have the line, so they're going to be round brackets. So for domain, we're going to go negative infinity to positive infinity. We're using the same numbers that you see here, negative infinity, positive infinity. But instead of writing the X and these little arrows, we're just using brackets. Now, for range, it says negative infinity, and it doesn't have the sign. Because it's infinity, you can never equal. It always will be round. And then we have a 6, and it can equal 6, so we'll do a square bracket. So that is how you write it in interval notation. Okay, let's take a look at this one. So domain and range. So first, let's look at our domain. How far left does this drawing go? Well, it looks to me like 1, 2, 3, 4, -5. The furthest our drawing goes is -5. And then how far right does this drawing go? There's an arrow there. Well, it's going to go on forever. So the furthest left that it goes is -5. And the furthest right that it goes is infinity. It goes right forever. So keep in mind that when all the infinity ones will never have the line underneath. And the number here, -5, well, that depends on if it's an open or closed circle. It is closed, so we have to have the line. It does equal -5. And I can do the interval notation right here. -5, and that has to be in square brackets. And then infinity, it can't equal infinity, so that will be round. Okay, let's take a look at range. So range is how low my drawing goes, and my drawing, the lowest point is right here. So what is that point right there? That's a -1, -2, -3. So the lowest my drawing goes is -3, and I'm allowed to equal it. And the highest this thing goes, well, it keeps going to the right, but it's always going higher, higher and higher. It's always increasing. So it's going to go to the highest possible amount, which is infinity. And I can never have that equal sign with infinity. And so then when I do my range right here, -3 is going to be a square bracket, and then infinity has to be round. So that is my domain and my range. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Okay. So I want to take a look at how, for my domain, my D, how far to the left does this drawing do? And it looks like my furthest is here, and it is filled in, so I'm going to do that. It's a filled in circle, so I'll put a little line. 1, 2, 3, 4, -5. So -5 is where I start. -5, and I go all the way to -1, and I don't actually equal -1. But I jump up and I start again at -1. So I'm okay there. And then I'm going here, -1, I'm going towards the right. I hit 3, and I don't equal 3, but I jump up and I do equal 3 here. So I pick up again 3 all the way to 6. So I go from -5 all the way to 6. And yes, I have to do some jumping up, but I never miss a spot. By the way, this thing still is a function because it passes the vertical line test. I touch it once there, so we're good. And once there, so we're good. So this thing is still a function. We can still do all of this. And I go from -5 to +6. And they're both filled in circles, so I can go for my domain, -5, 6. Both of them are filled in. Now for my range, what are my heights? So what's the lowest that I go to? So 1, 2, 3. So -3 is my lowest. Now notice I don't have a -2. There is no drawing at -2. I jump up and I'm here at -1. So I've got some drawings at -3, and then I have some more drawings at -1. And then I have a drawing up here at +3. I don't have any drawings happening here, nor do I have any drawings happening there. So I have to jump that. I have to make a jump. And so I need to indicate that here for my range. It's like, well, my range, I'm at -3 and only -3, and then I'm at -1 and only -1, and then I'm at +3 and only +3. So my range, and so whenever we have just a couple numbers where we have these big gaps, we just write, well, I've got -3, -1, and +3. Sorry, that's actually, those are the right numbers, but we write it y equals -3, -1, and +3. So this is like this right here. This says all of these things say we're at -5, we're at infinity, and we're everywhere in between. But we don't actually have that for this one right here. We're at -3, and then there's no drawings at -2. Then we're at a drawing of -1. And there's no drawings at 0, 1, 2, but then we have a drawing again at -3, and there's no more drawings up here, and there's no more drawings down there. So we're only actually at those 3 spots. And how you write that is how I had initially done it there. you put these squiggly brackets. I don't know what the proper term is, so I use the word squiggly. I can't erase it. And you go -3, -1, and +3. I would say that this is the most challenging question here. How do you write the range for something that has jumps? So my only advice to you would be definitely to practice this in the worksheets if you're having some troubles with it. Okay, so I believe that I forgot or skipped the first domain and range part down below. So it wants us to write down the domain and range in interval notation. So for the domain, I go between -4 and +4, and they're both equal to. So I'll do square brackets, -4 all the way to +4, and every number in between. And then my range here is from -5 to +5 and all the numbers in between. And there you have it. So I'll just zoom out here in case you need to fill anything out. But that is it for domain and range.